Hello and welcome to Connected episode 511. It's made possible this week by our sponsors, NetSuite, Squarespace, and 1Password Extended Access Management. I am your keynote chairman, Stephen Hackett, and I'm joined by our annual chairman, Mr. Mike Hurley.
Hello, I am annual chairman Mike Hurley, and I'm joined by Federico Viticci. Ciao, Federico.
Sup, chairman? How's it going?
Sup? Welcome back. Welcome back to the show.
So thank you.
Mhm.
I wasn't here,
No.
and I just want to let the people know that I have no idea what you did last week, because Stephen forbid it. Stephen told me you must not listen to the show.
Yep.
And I have not. I just saw the title, the Teach Olympics.
Yep.
I have no idea what it's about. Literally no clue. So,
Is it fair to tell him what it was about, at least? Or do we don't even do that?
I think even knowing what it's about could taint it. It's got to be...
is there a point at any point in 2024 will I be able to listen to this episode?
Possibly. It's unknown.
Possibly.
It's unknown. It's unknown.
Okay, so I guess I gotta delete it from my queue. I was
You
waiting
really
for
actually should do that. Yeah.
Okay, so not even this year at all.
No, in a year you can. The danger
In
is
a year.
we could create a space-time rift if you listen. And so we have to be really careful about that.
There's a real problem.
Okay, well, I hope it was a fun episode.
It was. It was. It was
Okay.
good to have John on the show. Did you know John was on the show? John was on the show.
I knew that. That's
Okay.
the only thing. And John told me the Connected was fun.
Good.
And that's it.
Good.
Good.
Okay.
As everyone says. Connected is fun.
John really does have a way with words, doesn't he? It's nice.
That he does. He does.
Mike, tell us about next week.
So we're off next week because we're going to be live in London. We look forward to seeing everybody at the Hackney Empire who's coming out. So we're going to be doing a live show, which I'm very excited about. It's going to be a good time had by all, and we're very excited. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm knee deep, shoulder deep, eye deep in planning. It depends on the way that you look at it. But I'm excited. Everyone's coming into town now. People are starting to arrive. I'm really, really, really looking forward to our show at the Hackney Empire.
Yeah, a bit of a bummer update that I need to share. Unfortunately, I won't be there. So I've already spoken with the guys, obviously. I don't want to get into the details. Everything's fine. Just not really a good time of year for me to leave. And we're good. Like, obviously, I'm going to miss a lot being there. And I know that it's, I know that it's an incredible milestone for Relay. Doesn't feel like 10 years. At the same time, it feels like forever, which usually, it's a good feeling to have. I'm very bummed that I can be there, but regardless, I know that you will both do an incredible job, and I know that you're gonna have the time of your life with everybody coming in. So, I just felt like I needed to share, just in case, in case anybody was coming in with
the Ticci
I don't know.
fans. The Ticci fans still going to be out there. Yeah, it's a shame. It's understood, but disappointing. But you're not disappointing. You know what I mean? Like, we all wanted to be there together, but unfortunately, life finds its own ways sometimes, and they're not necessarily the ways that you want them to find. That's the full quote. Yeah. That's the full quote.
Yeah, I think so.
It's shrunk down in Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had some follow. So we had a lot of follow-up that we can't talk about because Federico's here. I didn't really anticipate that being a problem. So if you sent feedback about what we did last week, thank you. I read it all. I'm sorry. But we did have someone point us to an Apple support document that I was not aware of. And Anonymous wrote in, Federico, I'm going to read this, Federico. Know that it's coming from our listener and not from me, because it's a little antagonistic, I think. I keep hearing Federico ignore this point about Apple bot crawling content, robbing the shop.
No, I don't
and
ignore
selling
it.
a lock.
I'm not ignoring it. Okay, but go on.
Without ever pointing this out. If robot instructions don't mention Applebot but mention Googlebot, the Apple robot will follow Googlebot's instructions. This is an important distinction. So,
Is it?
other than the
Is it?
spiciness, I want to know what you think about this.
I don't think it's an important distinction, and I think and I don't think I am. I think this person was probably playing gotcha. No, because first of all, even Googlebot Extended is a relatively new addition to web crawling. So forgive me if I have not paid attention in the last 6 months. Google AI answers are something that are still rolling out. Literally, it's like a feature that is launching now. So forgive me if I have not implemented the Googlebot Extended blocking. Obviously, I do not want to block Googlebot. So I'll tell you what's the important distinction. The important distinction is recognizing that I don't want to block Googlebot because I still want my website to be indexed on search engines.
Yeah.
An Applebot is also something that people want.
Exactly. Because I do want Mac stories to show up in Spotlight, for example, if you are a suggested website. That's made possible by Applebot. But more importantly, why is it exactly, like I fail to understand this point, why is it that I should be okay with Apple doing what Google does? Like this part does not compute with me. And I feel like it's quite ironic that we spend, in the Apple community, a lot of people hold Apple to a higher standard. But in this case, the argument would be, oh no, but they do what Google does, therefore it's okay. I thought we were expecting better from Apple, are we not? So yeah, I disagree.
Or different, at least. Again, we will probably keep mentioning this for a while. We were not expecting Apple to do things the way they did them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I would just mention, just as a general, rule of thumb with feedback, just because we don't mention something explicitly,
it doesn't
mean we don't know it.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be explicitly drawn out every single time. Yes, this is an interesting distinction, that if you don't mention Applebot but have restrictions around Googlebot, then Apple will follow them. Okay, great. But that doesn't change the fact of what's happening here.
They're still doing...
the situation was that Apple... because let's imagine that Federico did know about Googlebot Extended, right? And he could have made a decision about Googlebot Extended. Applebot Extended didn't exist until after it had already crawled.
Right.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So they didn't... the situation's not different. Apple did not give a choice. And just follow Google is not necessarily the way to do things. And it didn't give people a choice. There is a scenario in which someone could say, I want Google to do this, all of it. I don't want Apple to do it. And part of the reason for that could be, if I'm ever going to make any money out of this, Google's probably going to be the one to work it out. There's a history that if publishers are ever going to make money, Google is the company who has a history of that being the case. I don't think that's going to be the case going into the future, but if you were to take the optimistic take, right? If you look at what Google pay, or Google sending traffic to people, or YouTube paying creators, all of those scenarios tend to be better off for the creator. I still don't believe that any of these things will have a better off for a creator, but that could be a decision I could imagine someone making. Apple's never going to give creators any money, ever, for anything.
Yeah.
So that could be a decision somebody would make, and just Apple being we'll just follow the Google rule is not. It's not a wholly acceptable way of doing things. That's just what they decided to do, but it doesn't mean that every publisher, they were given no agency, given no choice. They just went and did it. That's the issue. Talking about locks. Steven, you got a HomeKit lock.
I did, my first one.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
What do you think
does
of it?
Does it work?
It does work.
What did you get, and how does it work?
Yeah, so I got the Aqara?
Aqara. Yeah.
Aqara
Mhm.
U200 smart lock. So this is their, as of this recording, their newest smart lock. It works with Matter and Google Home and HomeKit. And most interesting to me, the Home Key support or mechanism within iOS and watchOS, where it basically puts a card in wallet, and when you bring your device near the lock, it senses it and then unlocks it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, this is like it's called, what is it called? Home key
Home
is the
key.
feature, I think.
Mhm.
Home key?
Home Key.
Because I have car key for cars, home
Yes.
key for imagine such a world, the naming, incredible. But that's the key feature of these things, right? Is that you can just walk up to them. And then I don't think this lock is getting it, but like the next version of this is using ultra wideband. So you would just walk up to the lock and it'll open.
Right. So ultra wideband is support for smart locks is coming in iOS 18 and watchOS 11, and that will obviously require different hardware, and I'm sure Aqara and others will move on that, and that is interesting. But this seems like something that is maybe a little bit better fit for me, because my studio is in my backyard. I wanted a bit more I don't know, like intentionality about unlocking, and I just wasn't sure about like how close do you have to be for the ultra wideband? Does it sense that you're moving towards it?
I think the thing about ultra wideband is its precision. I think like that's the benefit of it over Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Bluetooth is a distance, but like ultra wideband would know you were walking towards the door.
Maybe so.
But nevertheless, this is a fantastic system because you don't have to do like open the app, unlock the lock, or whatever. Or like, and Bluetooth wouldn't work for you because you're so close all the time.
Right. And it has a fingerprint. So you have the lock mechanism that goes on the inside of the door, and it works with the lock that's already there. So it's like turning the deadbolt, in my case, on my very American door. And it has a keypad that's weatherproof, so you can go outside. It has a keypad on it, so you can use a PIN code to get in. In the Aqara app, you can set a temporary PIN. So it's like if it's an Airbnb situation or you're letting your dog sitter in or something, you can give them a PIN code that's only good for a set amount of time. But it also has a fingerprint sensor on it. So I can also walk up to it and touch it. I think I registered both my thumbs and both my index fingers, and I can touch it and it will unlock. And the installation wasn't too bad. I've got pictures and stuff on the blog post. I will say, and this is true for Aqara really across the board, their documentation's pretty bad. And
can confirm.
I don't know what that's about. I have some theories.
You're buying products from a Chinese company.
There it is. Happening. That's it. I think that's
it. It's not like it's this is a totally fine thing, but like I don't know how much of a presence. I don't really think they have much of a presence outside of China, but they sell worldwide.
Yeah.
And I think that they are not putting the work into localization. I mean, you can see it throughout the app. The app is just like...
It's weird.
It weirdly words things, but it's fine. And one of the things I do like about Aqara is a lot of their products you can use without ever touching the Aqara app, but you may just lose some features because of that.
Yeah, and there was a thing in the initial version of the blog post. I had something that was incorrect, so I had to go back and edit it after a couple of friends pointed it out, where this thing will work with Matter, and I don't have any Matter stuff enabled on my network. And in the setup flow for the lock in the Aqara app, it's like, oh, if you want to use Matter, you have to upgrade to the new hub, which is the M3. It's their current hub that supports Matter. But turns out that's not true. You can enable Matter with a firmware update on the M2 hub, which is the one that I happen to have. And I ended up not doing that yet because when you enable Matter, basically you're going to have duplicates of everything in HomeKit. You have like
you
the
don't
standard
need to do it for this though.
And I don't need to do it. So
yeah. That for this particular product, like it gives you no benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like only if you were tying, like if you had a home alarm system, like let's imagine that Ring actually do what they promise and support HomeKit, which I don't think they're ever going to do. As Matter, sorry. I don't think they're ever going to do it. But if they had done that and you had like a Ring alarm system, you could like tie these things together somehow. But
so
you're doing this all through the Home app.
I do have a Ring alarm system, and the way I do that is HomeBridge, which explodes every 6 months. But That is
Well,
what it
yes,
is.
but that means you don't need Matter, right? Because you can
I
link
can
them
just
up
rebuild
through
Homebridge.
Yeah.
It's
What?
it's like changing the batteries in the smoke alarm. You do that and you rebuild Homebridge and you're good to go.
This is exactly why I have no interest in those.
Oh yeah, it can be really
systems.
frustrating.
Yeah.
But it's pretty great. I mean, the HomeKey thing's awesome. And I have it set up on you can see in the picture, I have it set up on the door frame because I have the regular door and then I have a storm door with like a screen on it. And when it's nice outside, I leave the regular door open and the screen open so I can like get fresh air and like hear the kids in the backyard or whatever. And so I have it in between those and I can just walk up and I do it with my watch and just like put my wrist up to it. It unlocks and I've really enjoyed it so far. And of course, you can do interesting automation stuff based on your locks. And I've tinkered around the edges of that. I feel like it's easy when you're automating things with locks to like get yourself in a situation that's probably not the best safety wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had fiddle with that a little bit, but it's pretty great. And I mean, like the other Aqara stuff, I've got a bunch of their water sensors like under the sinks, and I have one in the pan for my hot water heater. And I have a couple of they have these like, they don't sell them anymore. I don't know what happened, but they have these buttons and basically you can just use them as HomeKit triggers. So I have 2 of those.
I do have one of those.
Yeah, they're great.
The Aqara Mini button,
something,
I think it's
yeah.
called.
And I've got 2 on our fridge, and one opens and closes the garage door, and the other turns on a lighting scene that basically turns on the lights across the front of the house. So you can just hit the button, and all their hardware is great. It's really the localization and some of the directions where things fall down a little bit.
And this lock is currently 20% off for Prime Day.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I want to, like, what we're talking about is I give like a massive recommendation for their doorbell, the G4 Smart Video Doorbell.
Oh, yeah.
I have one and I love it. And what makes it so good compared to other products is it is HomeKit and it is wireless. Like it's powered by batteries.
Yeah. So yeah. Nice.
Which is, there's nothing else. It's the only product that does this.
Yeah.
And the way that they do that is the chime that you have inside is actually what's connecting to HomeKit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it is then creating a connection between itself and the camera.
That's cool.
Like section. So it's very clever the way that it's doing it.
They make a lot of products that no one else kind of does. Like I was interested in like water sensors for a while, and at least at the time, they were really the only company making them that worked with HomeKit. And the way they do that with HomeKit is super smart. They basically act like an alarm system in HomeKit. So like if one of those gets tripped, my phone is going to go nuts. And that's exactly what I want it to do. If there's water in a cabinet under a sink, interrupt my podcast recording to tell me that, So
I have one of those.
Yeah, they're great. Well, I have them too.
For my irrigation system, and I think it's very clever how they use the critical notifications of iOS, so that even if you are in a focus mode or you have like notification silence, like it's always gonna make a noise. And a loud one at that.
It makes me sleep better, honestly.
Yeah, they have like their little temperature sensors, temperature humidity sensors are great. And I have a couple of their cameras too. They have a camera that you can make look like a cat. It comes in the box, little cat ears.
I'm realizing now that I have a lot of Aqara products
because they make such good stuff. Like their products are really, really good. And the camera, I don't remember which one it is, but I'll put it in the show notes. The cameras are good because they're also hubs, so you don't need a hub. Your camera connects as a hub, and then you can connect other things to that. And again, it's like it's the Hub G3, Camera Hub G3 is the product I'm talking about. Like you can just use it in HomeKit and you can use it as a camera. But then if you go into the Aqara app, you can change you can move the camera around up and down and turn it around. Like stuff like it's just like clever stuff that they do. I think they make really, really good products.
Ooh, I'm gonna buy a door sensor right now.
I don't use their door sensors, but I like the idea of having those. Because the door sensors I have are like tied to the alarm system that we use, but it's good stuff.
I got one door. I mean, all my doors are like that, but I got one door in particular that would be very handy to know its status because you can't really see it easily, and it's $14 on Prime Day. So doing that.
I put a Cara one on the fridge.
Oh, that's clever. So you know if the fridge door is like stuck open.
If the fridge is open, yep.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by NetSuite. Here's some quick math. The less money your business spends on operations, multiple systems, and delivering your product or service, the more margin you have and the more money you get to keep. But higher expenses are everywhere now. From materials, employees, distribution, and borrowing, everything costs more. So to reduce cost and headaches, smart businesses are graduating to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one platform and one source of truth. With NetSuite, you reduce your IT costs because NetSuite lives in the cloud. That means there's no hardware required, and it can be accessed from anywhere. So you're reducing the cost of maintaining multiple systems because you get one unified business management suite. You improve efficiency by bringing all your major businesses' processes into one platform, slashing manual tasks and errors. Over 37,000 companies have already made the move, so do the math and see how you'll profit with NetSuite. Look, I'm a small business owner. I understand these challenges and concerns, and finding ways to cut costs and boost business performance are critical, and NetSuite makes it really easy to do so. So, by popular demand, NetSuite has extended its one-of-a-kind flexible financing program for a few more weeks. Head on over to netsuite.com/connected to learn more. That's NETSUITE. netsuite.com/connected. Our thanks to NetSuite for their support of the show and Relay FM.
Vision Pro is available worldwide now, which is
Always on.
Well, thank you. Not completely worldwide, but more countries. They have it in a lot of Asian and European countries. It's in Canada too. And a couple of people wrote in about this, Jonathan, including them, of like pointing out it is interesting in all of the newsroom pieces that they've done. They show the dual loop band instead of the solo loop band.
Yeah.
And I read a report. I don't remember where this came from now. It might have been from Mark Gurman, actually, that has just become a directive. Like Apple's kind of refreshed the way they're doing in-store stuff, and the dual loop band is one of the things they've refreshed to. It is more comfortable, I think, than the solo loop. And I wanted to bring this up because I now am a solo top boy. So I did the solo top because I could get a solo band now because they're out in the UK. So I was waiting for them. So the solo top is where you take two of the solo loops, like the knitted one, and you get this 3D printed adapter, and you can then use two of those instead of the dual loop. Here's what I'll say about it, because I feel like everyone that uses it like goes wild for it. I would say it's fine. Like it's more, for me, it's more comfortable and it is more easily adjustable, but it is not as big an improvement for me as I expected based on other people. And this is, I think, for me, based on the fact that I found the dual loop to be comfortable where most people don't.
Interesting.
So I think I think that's maybe your the thing to consider if you're considering this. If you already find the dual loop comfortable, I would say I'm not sure that it is worth the amount of money that I had to spend on a second solo band.
Yeah, they're pricey.
They're really expensive, and like I'm sure it will be better when I have other people trying it out. But for adjustability's sake, it's way better.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'll say is I need to do some more testing on this. Like I've been using my Vision Pro the last couple of days, and the eye tracking is just so unreliable, and I don't know if it's related to this. So I might need to do some testing if like something's happening and now it's not eye tracking me as well. But like I had to stop using it today because I was really getting frustrated because I just couldn't. It would not work.
Maybe you need to do the calibration thing.
Yeah,
I did. It didn't help it. I mean, like I'm also on the beta, right? So like I know I've got way too many factors here that are going on for why it wasn't working. Sometimes I genuinely feel like it's like a weather thing. And I think it's something with my eyes. Like I think that there might be something going on with my eyes and it's just not as reliable, but it's a thing I've had on and off over using the Vision Pro. But like today, it was just like particularly annoying. But I do feel like maybe I've thrown too many factors at it. Because what I was doing today is I'm like deleting all my apps and reinstalling my apps because I have the App Store now, and I'm nearly done. So I've just been going through slowly, like delete one thing, install another thing. Because if I try and do an update for an app, it's like put your old password in. It's like, well, I don't want to do that. So
yeah.
But but you're thinking that you have unreliable eyes. That is your
potentially.
Basically.
There is. I'm not ruling that out as well. That my eyes are unreliable.
Oh God. No, that was unnecessary though. Okay.
Unreliable.
No, stop. Okay, we got it the first time.
I don't think you did. Well, I'm taking the word "I," like eyes, and I'm putting it in the middle.
Please explain. Oh, he's explaining it. Yes.
Yeah. Hey,
yes.
Well, I mean, you didn't laugh, so I just figured that you didn't get it, which is fine to not get it. No one.
Do you want us to clap for you? Should we clap?
Yeah, please clap.
I actually do want that. Please clap. Thank you. Thank you.
Done,
Just two claps. That was wow. 2 claps. Liked it.
Is this how I am? Is this how people view me?
Yes,
I don't know.
Steven. Yes. Now you understand the pain now.
Oh.
Okay. Mm-hmm. No, actually, Mike was worse. Way worse. But yeah.
Big news. The HomePod Mini's been updated. Are you guys excited?
What's the point of this?
So Apple had a newsroom release on July 15th. Today, Apple introduced HomePod Mini in midnight, made with 100% recycled mesh fabric. The internet freaked out. Didn't they already make a black one? Yes, a space gray one. And let me tell you, they look identical. In my blog post, I took Apple's own press images, and all I did was put them side by side in Photoshop. And hand on heart, I cannot tell the difference between the two dark ones.
Oh, let me play this game. Hold on a second. So I'm opening 512. Is there? Okay, I'm not reading the text. Okay.
Yeah, don't read the text. Just see which one is which.
Okay, so you have the image on the left and the image on the right. And I gotta make out which one midnight is. I'm gonna say that Okay, so the one on the left seems a bit darker.
Is midnight darker than space gray?
I'm going to go ahead and say that midnight is the one on the left.
Nope. Other way around.
Oh my God. No.
Midnight is lighter than space gray. Now we know.
Wait. Midnight is lighter than space gray?
Apparently so.
Okay, I'm done. Can we move on, please?
So what's are the other ones not made of 100% recycled materials? Is that what they're saying? Is that the thing?
I don't think so. So in the 2021 press release, when they added the different colors, all it says is mesh fabric. They don't say anything about recycling. So recycled.
So I have here the 2020 product environmental report for the HomePod Mini.
Oh man, the receipts.
90% recycled plastic in the mesh fabric.
Okay.
So the press release was for the additional 10%.
And the maybe impossibly difficult color change.
Wow. Okay.
Very exciting.
Sure.
Very exciting. This obviously got people very worked up, saying that how dare Apple update the HomePod Mini without preparing it for Apple Intelligence. It's still powered by whatever the HomePod Mini is powered by, some sort
Steven,
of
everybody knows that 10% of recycled mesh fabric is all you need for Apple Intelligence.
That's, I forgot about that.
Forget about that. It's the mesh of intelligence. It's like a brain.
The Apple Mesh Intelligence.
Uh-huh.
See, I meshed those two words together.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
Would you like to be clapped?
Please. Clap me, daddy. Okay, so that HomePod Mini. Up next, Mike, what is happening with your AirPods?
All right, I have a problem with my AirPods, and this is just one of these things that I want to say.
Oh, yeah. Are you sure it's the AirPods and not your unreliable ears?
I don't know.
Okay.
There could be a lot of things. I want to explain the situation that I'm having. So, AirPods in. This is usually happening when I'm on a train, but not exclusively. Sometimes it happens randomly. my AirPods in, and I'm listening to something. Sometimes listening to something and playing a game. The game I'm playing right now, by the way, is Peglin. I have been playing this game all day, every day for months. This game rules so hard. Thank you, John Voorhees, for doing this to me. I love this game. It is a Peggle roguelike, which is just a beautiful sentence. Fantastic video game. Love it so much. Anyway, so playing that, listening to a podcast, like one of my favorite podcasts, like NPC, you know?
Oh, thank you.
Although I have recently started listening to Into the Aether, so I've been listening to a lot of that, and they're all just one episode. Do you know what I mean? I'm halfway through their 15-hour episodes that they put out a couple of days ago.
Oh my
Stephen,
God,
we listened to a
already?
podcast that put out a 15-hour episode.
You know, I've heard y'all mention that a couple of times, and it blows my mind.
Yeah. That episode is so long, it will never appear on Spotify.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that happened.
Smart Speed is going to save you 5 hours when you listen to that.
It was hilarious to me where I was like, because they just put out another episode today, which is 6 hours and 40 minutes long. They don't always do this. It just so happened to happen 2 in a row.
Yeah.
And they're like long-term projects that they do, which are really cool. And I want to listen to the GameCube one. I've really been looking forward to the GameCube one because I want some GameCube recommendations. And I was like, well, surely I'm nearly done with the Games of the Decade episode, and I have 8 hours left. It's like, oh man, I'm never going to get there. Anyway, so I'm listening to podcasts or whatever. And what happens is, all of a sudden, audio stops, and the transparency or noise cancellation fails.
Huh.
So you know if you ever go from like transparency mode to like off, right?
Yeah.
If you ever try that, you can like turn it off. You can just be like, no, I don't want any of this. So like I hear it, and usually it happens in one ear first. So like say the left ear the transparency will fail, then the right one, all audio stops. It disconnects from my phone completely. And I have to wait. Then what will happen is it goes in reverse. The transparency mode will kick back in again. Then it will reconnect to my phone. And then I can listen to audio. Like essentially, my AirPods are rebooting. And this happens, sometimes I'm on a train journey, like a 15-minute train journey, and it will happen multiple times. At first, I thought it was like I was going through a specific area. Like I know this is a thing where sometimes Bluetooth connections can be knocked out, but that's not the case. It happens at multiple points, different points, and sometimes I'm not on a train at all. So this is a very weird and actually very annoying thing that I'm having happen to my AirPods, and I want to put this out there into the world of like, am I alone in this? Just to set the record straight, I am not doing any betas here. My phone is not on the beta. It's happening on my phone. I wouldn't even know how to do anything with AirPods beta, if that's even a thing. I am just using the devices as a regular human would be using them, and this keeps happening to me. So essentially, it's like they're just like rebooting, which is very strange. Have either of you ever had this happen to you?
No.
Okay.
No. You don't
That's
have iOS 18 on your phone?
What's the point?
That is the thing. Fair enough. I'll stop. Yeah.
Right? Like seriously, like There's stuff in there that is interesting to me, but like right now, I will put it on, but I will probably wait for at least another beta. Because I mean, we're going to talk about the beta in a second, but like they regressed some stuff that I was excited about even. But like there is nothing that is like really drawing me in. There are lots of things I'm interested about. By the way, Federico, I'm very happy that you got back on the right side of history with the photos design.
Yes, absolutely.
It is good.
Yeah.
The photos redesign is good.
It's good. It's good.
It is
I'm
good.
a fan now.
I'm happy that you...
Yeah.
But I like that you... One, I love that it happened, and two, I like that you wrote about it, because I think for me that was always the point of the thing, that you had to let it settle.
I have a potentially warm take.
The best kind.
Hold on, stay with me. I think in the Apple community, a lot of so-called pundits, they have this weird obsession with being right, and they don't understand that being wrong and being wrong in public actually makes for great content.
Okay.
And that's my warm take.
Okay. So like I see what you're saying, which is like a lot of people may make a decision and they won't ever change from that decision. Where yes, if you change your decision, you get 2 blog posts out of it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And maybe you could change your opinion again and you get a 3rd one. Oh.
Well, then you just look like an idiot if you do it too much. But
2 is the maximum. There's 2 posts
there's a balance, is what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Anyway, yes, photos. Photos is good, but probably you're fine. Just waiting for maybe even a couple more betas. Actually, I mean,
yeah, I saw that. That's my thought. Like, just wait until it gets like really, really solid.
Probably expect the next one to have Apple Intelligence, or at the very least the new Siri. But we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I am. I think I am at this point kind of waiting on that at least, because then it would be like, well, I might as well jump in and try it. Because I've tried some of these features out on my iPad, right? And like, I feel like that is going to be best to try on my iPhone, like on my iPad mini, because like, obviously if there's any intelligence features, they're not going to work on that poor little thing. But it gets very hot and very slow, very hot, very slow. But anyway, we'll come back to that in a second. Going back to my AirPods problem, I find it very frustrating. If anybody has experienced this, please let me know. This is my feedback. This is the end of it. This is the feedback. The feedback is given. It's given. It's out there.
What's the feedback number for people at Apple?
Tiny Topic 3 on Connected episode 511.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, or maybe you have one that just needs a refresh, you can stand out with a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything: products, services, and even content. Squarespace has everything you need all in one place and all on your terms. You can start a completely personalized website with their new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint, which I love the name. Choose from professionally curated layout and styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up, tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. And then easily launch your website and get discovered quickly with integrated, optimized SEO tools so you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. You can also integrate flexible payments to make checkout seamless for your customers using simple and powerful payment tools. Accept credit cards, PayPal, and Apple Pay, and in eligible countries, offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. We talked about selling. Let's talk about selling content. Squarespace has the tools you need to sell exclusive content on your site by adding a paywall to sell content or courses. And of course, you can sell files that your customers can download, like PDFs, music, or ebooks. It's all really easy. And I love that about Squarespace. Building an e-commerce site is hard. Having a blog or a podcast or an art gallery, you got to know a lot of different tools to make that work. And Squarespace puts it all under one roof. It all works together. It all knows about each other. It's really awesome. So head on over to squarespace.com/connected for a free trial, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/connected when you decide to sign up to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for this, probably your favorite podcast. Our thanks to Squarespace for their support of Connected and Relay FM. So we spoke about betas a second ago, but public betas are out over on Mac Stories. This has been a slew of articles covering iOS 18, macOS Sequoia, watchOS 11, and they're out. People are running them. There was some confusion because the day the public betas were supposed to come out, there was a new developer build, but it was of beta 3, and it regressed one area, Mike, that you talked about. So why don't you tell us about that, and then we'll get Federico's take on the public betas.
Yeah, so they republished beta 3. Presumably it was then going to be the public beta, because Apple have done that before. I don't remember when, but I remember this happening before, of like redoing a developer beta and then the public beta came out. And in that reissuing, they removed the feature where stickers could become emoji. My expectation is that it was just, and I will say, I use it, this was kind of broken, like it worked, but it was like shaky. And I'm hoping that they just need to do some tweaks, because it would be really weird to not have this feature. So like, I feel like it's just one of these things that it will appear maybe in beta 4 or beta 5 again. But they did remove that feature.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
It's a real bummer.
Yeah. There's no public beta for Vision OS either. So
That's probably good. They used to not do a watch public beta, remember, for years. And I
Now
think
they
just
do.
the complexity of restoring one of those devices, if it goes sideways, I'm okay with that being a hurdle.
Is it still like a horror show if you mess that up? Like, is it still really bad?
On the watch?
Yeah.
Probably. Maybe they just finally
Like,
gave
if you
in.
need to go back.
I mean, it
Is it
can
s-
be fun, that's for sure. Like just by virtue of not having a USB cable, like that's not, and being a slow device, like it's not gonna be fun, the restore process, which I have not done in many years. Probably only happened once to me, but I'm gonna bet that it's not pleasant.
Yeah, on WatchOS, I'll give a shout out to Jonathan who wrote your WatchOS 11. The imagery
Yes.
is really good.
Yeah,
Like,
Jonathan has a template that I actually wanna steal.
Yeah, you should. No,
Eventually.
you can just be like,
It's not
"Mine."
stealing. He works for you.
Mine now. I made this.
I made this. I made this.
It's
Yeah,
really good. It
Jonathan
looks
is
really good.
this is something that we did not share publicly, but actually, Alex, who's been doing the previous WatchOS coverage and annual reviews, been doing them for 10 years. Alex decided to wrap it up with WatchOS 10. So going forward, Jonathan will be taking care of the WatchOS coverage and the annual review on Mac Stories. So
Can I, considering the time has passed, can I talk about what happened at WWDC when it came to WatchOS 10 and Alex? Do you remember this? All right, so
I do not.
At WWDC last year, Alex was expressing a what is the opposite of desire? Non-desire to write the WatchOS 10 review. He didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
And at one point, he pitched having Jeremy Burge do it.
Yes, I remember now.
Alex was trying to get out of this so bad. I remember it was very funny, and like just like the whole week, just hearing him pitch different people to you to do the review.
Just walking by somebody, like, "Hey, do you want to write something for Mac Stories?"
Like, really, honestly, I was around Alex enough that week that it did feel like that at a certain point where he just didn't want to do it.
Well, he would have asked you, but you're tied up with tvOS.
Right, no, I got fired. It was a shame, and there's unfortunately, we're in an arbitration right now. There's legal proceedings going on.
Probably shouldn't share anymore.
I can't share anymore, and I also can't write any reviews because of the way in which I was fired.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are these proceedings in the room with us right now? Like,
please point to the proceedings. If you can see the proceedings, point to them. Unfortunately, I can't talk about this right now.
Okay.
You'll be hearing from John Voice. He's my lawyer, which is the second twist in the story.
That works.
Yeah,
that works. So he's suing himself.
Look.
Interesting.
Hey, look.
Interesting.
You know,
some people like that. Sure. Okay. No, but I'm very excited about Jonathan taking care of this, and he's done a great job, I think, with the public preview, testing things that I would have never tested. So yeah, there's gonna be a WatchOS 11 review on Mac Stories this year.
For me, currently, feature for feature, I am most excited about WatchOS 11.
Actually, I agree.
Like
right now,
so the live activities in the Smart Stack, I want that, right? And also the Smart Stack's promise to actually do what they said they would do last time, which is like reflow them a bit better. And I'm sure in the WatchOS 10, like I haven't checked this, but this is my memory, that they said live activities would be in that, and that never happened. Training load, I'm really interested to see the judgment that my Apple Watch will put on me after my workouts. I'm like, is that going to be good or bad? And also the vitals thing. And
I can tell you firsthand.
Yeah, please share that story.
I last week in the evening, I started feeling a sore throat. And I was like, Usually, as we know, it's pretty much a sign that something is going on. Sure enough, woke up the next morning with a notification from the Vitals app on my Apple Watch running the WatchOS 11 beta saying there's 3 data points that are outliers here. And specifically, it's your temperature, your heart rate, and your respiratory rate. I was like, boy, I'm dying over here. but it was like, your temperature is like 1.5 degrees higher, and your heart rate is really off, and your respiratory rate is also kind of off. And that persisted for multiple days. Of course, I got sick, and sure enough, I got a fever and I got a cough and everything. So and then it did it for like 3 days. And what was cool about it is that I could tell that I was getting better because every morning, like, there was gonna be like one fewer data point. So like, the one day the temperature was okay, but the 2 other values were still not. And then it was just the heart rate that it was still high, and then it stopped. So the Vitals app, I know that it's not new data. Like, all these data points, you could manually check in health before. But I think it's the UI and the bringing them together, making them very actionable, like in the way that, like, it's presented in plain English. It tells you every morning when you wake up. It doesn't require you to go open health on your phone. You can just do it all with a very simple UI on the watch. I think it's very cool, and I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, well, don't worry, Stephen, I got you. I see this data in Sleep++, because it underscore uses it to form like a readiness score is what he calls it, of like pulling in. I think it's some of these or all of these things as a way to show you how prepared you might be for the day. But I don't check that every day. Like, I actually check that usually because of something that I'm feeling. I like the idea of my watch actively reaching out and telling me like that something's changed. Like, I think that's cool.
And in terms of Sequoia, John wrote about it. His takeaway, I think, pretty much in agreement with him. There's that 2 features that are really cool, like the iPhone mirroring and the iPhone notifications. Like, that's gonna be that is the highlight of macOS Sequoia, and I think it's gonna be something that a lot of people are gonna use, especially nerds. I think people like us, we're gonna be all over that feature.
Yep.
But otherwise, and that is also pretty much my sentiment right now in mid-July with iOS and iPadOS 18, we're all just waiting for Apple Intelligence stuff to show up. And so what you're left with in Sequoia, in iOS, in iPadOS is a lot of smaller, like, app-related features.
Yeah.
On iOS, you do have the customization to sort of salvage this release without Apple Intelligence. You have Control Center, which is customizable, and for me right now, it's the highlight of iOS 18. Good. You do have the home screen stuff, and the Photos app, which, as we have established, I am now a fan of it, and I think I'm curious to see what Apple does now that there's a public beta. I don't think we are witnessing the kind of backlash that we experienced 3 years ago with the new Safari, because that version of Safari was bad. This version of Photos, it seems like it's more of a subjective thing. I wouldn't say it's an objectively badly designed Photos UI. I don't think that's the case.
No, I think so Safari was not good and like unhelpful for people. I think that in the new Photos design, they came at it from the thing of there we have all this stuff and nobody looks at it. And people like this kind of stuff. And so let's show it to them, but in a way where we're not taking away what they're used to. Like, all you need to do is just swipe to get, like, you just continue scrolling if you need to go further. Like, my expectation is I would say 90% of the time when people open the Photos app, what they want is one of the last 20 photos, and they're still visible. They're still there. Yep. And so you can still get to those if you want to, but now you're also going to be pulled into like, hey, look, here's these pictures of you and your friends, and hey, look, here's this, and hey, look, there's that. And it's like, I think that is like I think the design has come from a sincere place, not just how can we rethink this application, which is what Safari felt like, whether that was the case or not.
I saw some people say, "Oh, but I don't want to discover photos in my library," and like that to me is like a mind-blowing comment. Like,
I'm
then
sorry for your
why
life.
are
I
you
don't
even
know.
taking? Why are you even taking pictures? Like, if you don't want to rediscover memories and photos, like it's almost like saying, "No, actually, I don't have an analogy. It just seems
No,
wild
that's
to
really
me."
strange. That's weird.
It's
to me.
really strange. It's really strange that you may be against the idea of rediscovering photos and memories when you do have a photo library. Like,
Mhm.
you know? Anyway, we'll see if Apple listen to, for example, one feedback that Apple may want to listen to is if you set your grid to be fully expanded on the phone. So you swipe down and you see just the grid and you force quit photos, maybe something that Apple could implement is remember the state of photos. Right now, if you expand the grid and you force quit photos, the next time you open photos, the grid is not fully expanded. So maybe that's something that Apple could do. But honestly, I think it's a pretty good design. And I think Apple is onto something with this idea of, look, you can still do just the basics, and that's literally 60% of the screen by default. But if you want to, you can keep scrolling and find stuff because
And there's
by
so
and
much
large,
customization.
that's what people want.
You can
Yes.
change so much about what the app shows you and where it shows you it.
Yeah.
Like
Which is
that's
cool.
like the second shoe to drop for me with this design, which is like, oh, so you don't ever want to see, X or Y thing? Just get rid of it. Like I just think it's very. I love it, and yeah, I think they did a good job.
What I also think it's wild is that we've gone from Photos being a completely non-customizable app to Photos being Apple's most customizable app ever. Like second only, I mean, at this point, to Shortcuts, really.
Yeah.
And Shortcuts is the app that literally is designed to let you create stuff. So it's customizable by design. But what you can do in Photos, it's wild. Like rearrange stuff, modify pin collections. I hope that Apple is now entering its. Actually, this is a pretty good sentence that I should say for my iOS review. See, I'm gonna use. This is something that we spoke about on. This is something that we spoke about on the pre-show. Mike, where can people get Connected Pro? While I'm sitting this down.
GetConnectedPro.co is where you can go to get longer ad-free versions of the show. We were talking about Federico preparing for his iOS review and what his plans are for that this year.
Yeah. What I was going to say, and the sentence that I wrote down, is that I hope that Apple is now entering its second era of customization. The first one being visual customization with the home screen, lock screen, widgets. And I hope that iOS 18 is pointing at a more functional customization in the sense of like, look at Photos and look at Control Center. That's my theory.
Yep.
Which I literally just saved. So,
yep.
That's good. That's good. It's been interesting this year. I feel like there's been more overall like change and evolution in some areas than maybe we've seen in past years, like particularly around like the tinting and some of the home screen stuff on iOS 18. I don't know. It feels like things are maybe a little bit less set in stone this year, which is always interesting. It's interesting to see how Apple solves these problems as time go on, right? I think we talked about Safari, obviously the biggest example of that sort of in modern Apple history. But even those other features, they're continuing to evolve and continue to change, and that's always really interesting to watch.
Are they going to change the color tinting, do you think, or do you think that's done now?
Oh, I think it's done.
I think
they're going to leave it. I think it's done, yeah.
Yeah, I think that time has passed now, right?
I have seen, I can count them on one hand. I have seen 2-3 examples of a pretty good looking tinted and custom icon layout on the home screen. Like I saw a photo on Threads of a person with a wallpaper, and on the left side was like this skyscraper with like orange lights, and on the right side the person had put like just like a vertical row of 2 icons tinted orange. And I was like, yeah, that looks pretty good. It's not something that I would ever use. And you got to wonder, like, especially on social media, how many of these screenshots are done for clout? And like, do you actually use your phone like that? But I do think that there will be enough people using phones with weird and beautiful custom icon layouts that it's justified for Apple to do it. Not something that I will ever do, but hey, you cannot like customization only when it just so happens to be your kind of customization. It's kind of like democracy, you gotta love it all the time. Otherwise, you're not gonna love it ever.
Sure, that's the thing. That's a way to say it. I just want to be able to use dark mode and not have dark icons though, and dark widgets.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to separate those things out a little bit, and like be able to pick and choose, like dark mode or not, dark widgets or not, dark icons or not. And yeah, I don't like that I have that choice. Here's the thing I also don't understand. I don't understand this. They can do whatever they want with this. People, I don't know why they tint the wallpaper. I don't know why that's the thing. Like make it wallpaper darker. That is like a very strange setting to even exist to me. Like, I'm not really sure what that serves. Like, I am concerned that there are user interface designers at Apple that don't understand what dark mode is, like what people are using dark mode for, and the tinting is one of them. Like, I don't like when people choose dark mode. It's not like, oh, I can't stand bright color. Like, even like the way that they're doing this like dark mode tinting of apps. Like, I'm looking at an image here in Federico's article, and it's like they make the WhatsApp icon a little less saturated. Like, why though? Like,
well,
for what
they're trying to get people to
reason?
use messages. That's anti-competitive behavior,
I guess. But like, I just don't understand for what reason that is felt to do that. Yeah, it's strange, and I'm concerned about the way that what they're doing to dark mode, because like, I also just don't really like in general Apple's dark mode icons. I don't.
You don't like them?
Think. No. I think some of them look great and some of them look not good at all.
Yeah. And what is the vibe check from both of you? Small icons, large icons.
I don't like the large icons.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, who likes the large icons?
No, look. I have not used it on my phone yet, right? Like, I have not tried it on my phone. But in every image that I see, I don't like the large icons. They're too big for me. Like, it's
but
too
after
big.
a while, like, I'm telling you, I also thought like, oh, this is gonna be like old person's home screen, like, oh, giant icons because grandpa can read the labels. But after a while, you do get used to them, and it makes you appreciate, especially if you have like nice icons on your home screen, it makes you appreciate the icons more. And then when you go back to the smaller ones with the text, you're like, oh, these are small and have text underneath them. They look, I don't know, maybe it's like a novelty bias type of thing now, but I really like my chunky icons.
I'm gonna try it when I put it on my phone, but I'm not sold on it yet.
Something that I was thinking while I was working on the preview article, for all the thoughts that I shared about AI, and I'm not like this is not an AI segment, but over the past week, I have found myself very much look forward to the new Siri, especially because of the text activation that it's gonna be possible, like the text mode. I was at the beach, and I wanted to do a bunch of things, and obviously I had to do them. Like, for example, I had to turn off a specific light that I left on at home. And I had to open the home app and, find the room and find the accessory and turn it off, which was fine. It took me 20 seconds. But I had the thought of like, it's going to be so nice when I can just tap the virtual indicator and be like, shut down balcony light. And it's done. So like that idea of going from just an assistant to a smarter assistant that is also like basically like a tiny command line on your phone, it does make me very excited. And I was kind of wondering if you also had, like, if you've been thinking about this at all, like anticipating the new Siri.
I anticipate it in faith. Like, I am going to choose to believe it will be as effective as they showed us. If that bears out, then I am excited about this. And so, like, at the moment, I am choosing to believe that is true. So I am excited for a much more capable system. Like, that's what I am looking forward to. Like, the ways in which you can trigger it is nice. The new UI is nice, fine. But, like, that's not, like, we're not going to get the capability until later on, it seems like, the full capability. That is what I am most excited for, because I want to be able to have a natural conversation with my devices and have it do things for me. Like, that's what I want to be able to do. Like, I used this example already, but I'll say it again. So, like, I had to do this thing where we have like a selection of tickets for the live show that we're giving out to the family members of hosts and like friends and stuff like that. So I had a like 100-page PDF, and every page on the PDF was an individual ticket. And I needed to split that PDF into individual PDFs and name them with the seat number, which was on the PDFs. The way I did this was I created a shortcut to separate it, but then I could not come up with a way to extract that one particular piece of information and then rename the file as that. I have no idea, and I don't actually think that Siri will be able to do this. But that's what I'm aiming towards. Like, that's what I want to be able to say to my computer: take this PDF, separate it into individuals, take the seat number, and rename each file with the seat number. Computers should be able to do that task, right?
I don't think the Siri they showed.
No, neither do I. But to get to there, I think is this middle part, right? Of like, Siri will understand what I want more. Siri will be able to talk to applications. There are Siri intents, and like, you can see a scenario where we get to that, which on the face of it, a computer should be able to do that. I know computers can do that. I know people can make this work, right? That like with a combination of OCR, like you could make it work. But the amount of time it would take to do that, I just did it, right? Like, it took me like 10 minutes and I'd rename them all, like not even that. But I would like to be able to just give one command to my computer and it activate all of the things needed to do that and just provide me with the result like in seconds. I think we're on the path to a computer being capable of doing these things for us, like a personal computer. But to get there, we got this part in the middle. And is that part in the middle, I'm also excited about the idea of being able to have a communication with my phone and it surface information for me and then perform simple actions. Like, I am excited about that rather than I ask the assistant a question and get an answer and that's the end of it. That is like all Siri has been for like 10 years. And like, I am ready to move past that and give it another shot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that computers can't do those things, right? Like, you could make something to do that on a Mac, but you have to know how to do it. It's about unlocking those capabilities, not only on a new type of device like an iPhone or iPad, but for people who aren't going to open Automator or shortcuts or the command line. And
yeah, but even then, like, if I was the type of person where I was having to do that task frequently, I would work out the way to do it. Like, I know I could do it. I could get some help from some friends to maybe write a script for me. Like, for example, Jason created a script for me, which I did some modifications on, and like he did some modification. We got it. So like every year when we do the upgrades, I can have it go through the calculations and try and like pull together the way that people write things. So like Breath of the Wild and Zelda Breath of the Wild, like try and like lump those together to make that job easier. And while that took a lot of effort, I need that every year.
Mhm.
So it's good to have done the effort because then it saves me time in the long run. But this task about the PDF, I needed once, right? So like it wasn't worth doing the effort. But I should still ask the computer once, right? Like,
Sure.
and it do it that one time because there shouldn't be any setup for me.
Yeah.
Like even just to have not written the shortcut, right? Like that's the part where like I knew I could get shortcuts to separate this PDF for me into individual PDFs. Like I should at least be able to say like, hey computer, take this PDF and split it up for me,
Mhm.
and it do that part at least. And I would expect that new Siri should be able to do that. Like from my expectation, if it's in shortcuts, it should be able to do it. That is like a absolute minimum bar for me. I have no idea if I'm going to get that, like whenever this probably ships next year. But like that for me is like if it's in shortcuts, it should be able to do it. If it can't, I don't understand why. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we're too far off from what you are envisioning here, especially if like Apple is gonna add more domains to app intents, and they're gonna roll out the app integration, of course, in the iOS 18 cycle. And it sounds like from Mark Gurman's report, one of those, that Siri will also get like the ability to chain multiple commands into one. So I think there's a scenario in which like late 2025, say early 2026, maybe what you just described is actually a reality.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by 1Password Extended Access Management. Imagine your company's security like the quad of a college campus. There are nice brick paths between buildings. Those are the company-owned devices, IT-approved apps, and managed employee identities that you know about. But then there are the paths that people actually use, the shortcuts through the grass. Those are unmanaged devices, shadow IT apps, non-employee identities, like contractors. Most security tools only work on those happy brick paths, but a lot of the security problems take place on the shortcuts. Well, 1Password Extended Access Management is the first security solution that brings all of those unmanaged devices, apps, and identities under your control. It ensures that every user credential is strong and protected, every device is known and healthy, and every app visible. 1Password Extended Access Management solves the problem traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. It's security for the way that we work today, and it's available now to companies with Okta and coming later this year to Google Workspace and Microsoft Entra. So check it out at 1password.com/XAM. That's 1password.com/XAM. There's a link in the show notes. Our thanks to 1Password Extended Access Management for their support of Connected and all of Relay FM. I wanted to close this week with a couple of app stories.
Hey, that's
The stories of apps.
The stories
My
of
name is
apps.
John Voorhees.
I used to be a lawyer.
okay.
I came to America
Okay.
on a boat.
On a
Okay.
week, for a week. If people asked us, it took a week.
Took a
We
week.
found that out today.
Yeah.
Took a week.
UTM-SE is a retro PC emulator for the iPhone, iPad, and Vision Pro. And I think out of everything that has changed in the App Store in the last couple of years, for some reason, this is the one that blows my mind the most. That I can emulate Windows XP on my iPad. What is happening?
Did you see my hot take on Threads about this?
What'd you
And
say?
it was
No.
so I responded to probably Nilay Patel, I think, saying that using with Windows XP with UTM-SE on an iPad, you have better multitasking than Stage Manager.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, you're saying that this has changed. Like, this has changed within the last month. Like, this app has been on a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was rejected a bunch of times, and things would change. It was rejected. And now it's here, and everything that I found, no one is really saying why. I don't
Well,
know why it got approved.
Well, There is no why. Isn't also that like a Smashing Pumpkin song? Probably. There is no why because the idea is that Apple is now letting. The way I look at it is, if Delta is successful and Alt Store is so successful, we also gotta let them on the App Store because that's what the people want, and we're gonna give people what we'd rather have people. We'd rather have people be happy on the App Store than be happy on a third-party store. That's sort of my takeaway.
Well, because this one was making headlines because they rejected it from notarization to be on Alt Store initially. Like, that's what the big problem was with this, because that's not something that Apple should be doing, right? But they did it, and then it became a whole thing. And then some stuff got changed, and now, as you say, it's also on the App Store as well as being in Delta. In Alt Store. So, like, this is the thing. Like, I just don't. What happened? Why is this now available? And this is like the consistent thing, which is becoming more and more frustrating about like notarization, what Apple is and isn't allowing on the App Store, and how it's changing its rules. And sometimes the rules are this, and sometimes the rules are that. It's like, I'm happy it's there for the people that want it, but this is just a consistent. The only thing that is consistent about this process is how much of a mess it is.
Yeah. Regardless of the politics of it all, pretty incredible that we can now have basically virtual machines for retro operating systems on an iPad. Just technologically speaking, I think it's very cool that you can run Windows XP, you can run older versions of macOS. Steven, you should probably try this at some point.
I should.
Yeah, there's something for you to do here, obviously when you're less busy. But yeah, this is something that you can do, like run older DOS games, like whatever. Anything that is considered retro, you can emulate with UTM-SE. UTM I have used before on the Mac to run the Linux distro that runs Home Assistant on my Mac Mini server, and SE is the iPad version. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and hopefully, slowly but surely, more and more of these apps are coming on the vanilla App Store, and I hope that will continue to be the case, especially with emulators that require JIT, for example. I hope that Apple can relax that stance in the future, progressively, but I hope they can do it.
Mm.
The other app that I think we should also mention Delta on the iPad. Version 1.6.
Update finally got out there.
Yeah, you can now run it on the iPad. You don't have to be in the EU. You can just get it on the App Store. There's some iPad-specific skins, especially impressive, I think, are the DS ones. And what I think is also pretty cool is that you can use Delta with multi-window. I don't know who wants to play multiple video games at the same time, but Delta has been optimized for iPadOS and Stage Manager. So if you want to, you can keep, Pokemon Red going in one window and Tetris in another. Like, you can run Mario Kart and, give me a DS game, Mike.
Mario Kart DS.
Well, okay, sure. You can run two versions of Mario Kart at the same time.
Sorry, I did a bad job.
That works. That works. You
Super
can have
Mario 64 DS.
There you go. Excellent game. You can do that. Multiple windows. I don't know why, but you can. And so, I think it's gonna be. I think the iPad is especially well suited for DS emulation because of the dual screens, and you have a bigger display, and I think especially like an 11-inch iPad Pro, for example, in portrait mode, running Delta with DS games, it's a pretty sweet setup. So that's also quite exciting, and it's on the App Store.
This week also marked the launch of the new version of Overcast. Overcast turns 10 years old this week, which is mind-blowing. And Marco's been talking about
something turning 10 years old.
Yeah, a lot. It's something else I can't think of. Where did the time go? But Marco's been talking about this for a long time on ATP and, of course, Under the Radar here on Relay, talking about basically Overcast was in a position where there was a lot of really old code, and he was unable to move the app forward in a lot of ways that he wanted to because of all this Objective-C, and he wasn't in the Swift UI land that an app starting today would be in, and so he underwent a massive rewrite to basically bring Overcast over into the modern times using Swift and Swift UI, and the result of that currently is an app that is more or less the old version of Overcast minus a couple of features, but built on a new foundation to move forward. And we got some links in the show notes for people to go check out. I'm sure, actually, I know that the majority of you listening are listening in Overcast because it is the most popular podcast client for this and many other tech podcasts. And I'd love to know what y'all think about it.
This update for me, mixed bag. I have some things about it that I really like, some things that I don't like, and some things that I'm kind of in the middle. So visually, a lot of the design tweaks that Marco has done, I do really like. I especially like the new home screen. I like the circle playlists. I would like to be able to remove some of them because I don't need them all, but like I only use 2 playlists, and I think that they look nice. I like the kind of like carousel of shows that's at the top. I expect in the future that I'll be able to like long press on these and do stuff with them, but I do like that they're up there, like because I do sometimes just find that's just like a really quick way to just jump into what I'm listening to. I'm still getting used to the now playing screen. The way in which you access show notes and chapters is especially what I'm trying to get used to. I really like the sliding cards that was there in Overcast before, where you just slide left to right, and like I'm much more used to the. I actually quite like the way to get to. There's like a quick way to get to the show notes, which you just tap the artwork, and like that's how I'm doing it, and that works pretty well. Although like sometimes, with some things that you when you tap something, usually you tap it again to undo what you've done, and obviously you can't do that here. But that's fine. I don't like the chapter screen where it just like full screen like takes over, and that UI I'm not a fan of. But it works though, which is fine. Like it's working for me. But I know I got to get used to it. Like we've been using that now playing screen for like 6 years, like in the exact way that it was. I think that's how long it's been since that was released. And so I kind of got to get used to it. Originally, I was very upset about the removal of streaming because that was how I don't download podcasts. I just press play and they stream. But in actuality, it has not caused a problem for me. And I think the way that Marco designed the idea that you press play and it brings up playing screen and then just goes and downloads for you, I think is a very clever way of dealing with that problem. And I'm sure, because the way he's described it is essentially it was just the way in which podcasts are being produced now, which is what a lot of direct, was it DAI, like the ad insertion stuff?
Dynamic ad insertion.
Is causing him dynamic. I was going to say direct, but that's wrong. Dynamic ad insertion. That was really making things difficult for him, it seemed like. And so if this allows him to continue making like the audio effects and all that kind of stuff better, great. Like that, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I really love the go back button that he's added. So if you accidentally seek or if you like skip chapters and something, there's like a little button that pops up on the artwork inside of the app. It says go back and there's a little timer that counts down and it will go away for you. This is great because I was listening to that 14-hour episode of the podcast that I mentioned earlier on, and I accidentally knocked the home screen and jumped by many hours in that podcast. And so I quickly opened Overcast and was able to hit the go back button, and it took me back to where I was before I did the accidental jump. I really like the context menus for moving episodes between I have 2 playlists, an all episode playlist and a queue playlist. So I just move things from the all episodes to my queue. And I like that when you kind of like tap the 3 dots, you get some options of like add it to the queue, add it to next in the queue. I just like the way that is designed. And similarly, when I'm in my queue playlist, how I can tap on something and just like make it jump right to the top or go right to the bottom. I like those buttons that are there. But something that I miss is that you can no longer drag and drop multiple episodes or episodes between playlists. I used to do that a lot. This is kind of like the back and forth is where I am with this app, where like there are things that I like about it. There are things that have changed that I don't like about it. And that's because I've used this app in the state that it has been in for 6 years is an incredibly long time for an app to remain in a state. I actually think that is a testament to how good the design was, in my opinion, then, that it has maintained for that period of time. I can't imagine any other app that I would still want to use after not changing for that amount of time. So I think that was a testament to the work that Marco had done. But like the kind of like, for me, I am really hoping that it bears true that this rewrite allows for further iteration of the app. Because for me, this version has not provided enough to warrant the time difference. But like, so I hope that it continues to get better, because there are things that I like about it, and there are things that for me are regressions. I understand the regressions, but they are regressions for me. And so we'll see where it goes from here. That's kind of my feeling on it. It's like, this is fine for what it is right now. And I hope that he will be able to iterate on it in the way that he said that he will be able to, because this version doesn't click for me everywhere. But I'm confident and hopeful that the app will continue to get better, because there are these little shining moments in here which are like so nice. Like that go back button, and I really like a lot of the animations in the app now, and the app feels modern again. So I'm hoping that this is, as Marco has very well put it, so I believe him completely, like the foundation for the app moving forward. So that's kind of where I am with it.
I have some thoughts. So for the past year, I used Pocket Casts as my primary podcast client. I do need to have voice boosting and trim silence or smart speed to listen to my shows. So Apple Podcasts is out of the question. It's not something I can use. I used Pocket Cast for a year, and just last month I decided I cannot use it anymore because, and I know that it's something that Automatic, who own Pocket Casts, are working on, but Pocket Casts is way too slow at refreshing my podcasts. So many times it happened, for example, that Mike just put out a new episode of Upgrade or a new episode of Cortex, and I couldn't listen because it was not showing up in Pocket Casts. And I know that Automatic has said they're working on improving server speeds and refresh times, but I just needed, I was so fed up that I started looking for something else.
I would be surprised if they're able to do this. And the reason I say this has been a fundamental issue of Pocket Cast for its entire existence. And they have always said that they're working on it, and it has gotten better, but there's clearly something going on with their architecture which makes that complicated for them. So like, I don't know. In your situation, I wouldn't believe it was going to improve to the point that you want it, which is instant, like Overcast has been, and Apple Podcasts is, and Castro is as well.
Yep. So just last week, I tried Castro with the new owners. I really like Castro, and for me right now, it is the app to beat. I love its UI, its inbox and queue-based approach. It's fast. I get notifications from it. I really like the now playing screen. But I decided, with the new version of Overcast, I want to give it a try. And I am giving it a try. I temporarily deleted Castro and I put Overcast on my home screen. So this is the opinion of someone who hasn't used Overcast in a long time. I love that it's fast. That it feels a lot more modern than before, and that it shows me those like quick new episodes at the very top of the UI. Something that I immediately noticed that is a common limitation all throughout the Overcast UI is that you cannot long press anywhere. It just like you cannot long press on those episodes. You cannot long press on a podcast. There are no context menus at all. For these episodes. So that is something that I wish that Marco could add. I like that there's now like a more clear UI for having like the separation between all episodes and the queue. That's all I need to do. Like I just want to see all episodes from my shows, and then select some of those and put them in a queue. I like that there's like a proper playlist called queue. It's obvious, it's simple, it's large enough, easy to get to. And I appreciate that I can reorder episodes in the queue, like you mentioned, with the context menu or using drag and drop. Although I wish the drag and drop supported multi-item drag and drop. So let me drag and drop multiple episodes at the same time.
Previous Overcast could. New one
And
can't.
this
I asked
one
Marco
can't.
about this. He
Okay.
said this is a SwiftUI limitation. So,
Okay.
or at least
I see.
whatever he's doing here, like it's something that he wanted, but it can't do.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's unfortunate.
I think I like the new now playing screen. I'm okay with where the show notes are, where the chapters are. I love the undo button, and obviously the audio effects are still the best ones. Like having used the Pocket Cast version and the Castro version, the Overcast audio effects are the best ones. So there's absolutely no question.
Yeah, I just want to make something very clear here that Marco would have to mess up this app so bad, like so bad for me to not want to use it for how good that is.
Yeah.
He has
I thought that was
so
clear.
much latitude for destroying this application if he wanted to before I would want to switch because of how good it is. Like the smart speed and the voice boost features are so good. Industry leading for sure.
For sure. I love how fast it is. I was having some issues with refreshing a Patreon-based RSS feed this morning, but I know that Marco is working on some fixes for the new version of the app already, so that's fine. The episode eventually showed up. And I love how search, because this is something that I do quite frequently, search lets me search through my episodes so quickly. Like
the search
recently,
is blazing fast.
I needed to find a 6-year-old episode of Into the Aether, which is one of my favorite video games podcasts. And it like searching for those old episodes in Overcast is excellent. I'm going to give you 2 things that I dislike. And hopefully these are areas where Overcast can improve with this new foundation. The first one is I dislike that the queue is a playlist rather than something that I can access from my now playing screen. This is something that, for example, it's something that I really like about Pocket Casts, where I can see what's coming up almost like a music player, right? Like the queue is part of the now playing UI. And so I can manage my queue without having to dismiss the player and go back to the main view of the app. And right now, the queue is basically a glorified playlist. And I think it should also be something that you can access from the player. And the second thing, and this is something that I have asked you guys to explain to me multiple times, you have, and I still don't get it. In the home screen of Overcast, right next to podcasts, it says there's a segmented control that says current and all. Yeah. I do not understand what this means. I just wanna see all my podcasts, and I don't understand what's current and what's all.
Some podcasts are decided by Overcast to be inactive because they've not published in a long time.
Isn't that something that I should form as my personal opinion instead of Overcast's opinion?
I have this consistent issue with all podcast apps that do this because people will sometimes let me know, why is your show gone? And it's like, well, no, that's not how it works. Actually, you know what? I'm wrong. That's not what it is because I'm on current and I can see some things that are considered as inactive. I don't know. I thought I knew, but maybe I don't because when I go to current, so some of my shows that are listed are inactive are there, and some. Oh, okay, all right. I think I got it now. I think it shows that you have episodes that are unlistened to in. That's what it is.
I'm always gonna have episodes that are unlistened to.
Yeah, but that's what's going on.
This tab just makes me feel bad. So this is what I'm trying to get to. Like the way I listen to podcasts is I subscribe to a lot of shows. I don't listen to every single episode of every one of those. I just pick and choose and put them in my queue. I'm always gonna have unlistened episodes. So I'm guessing there's always gonna be something that is current. What I want is I just want to see all my shows. When I tap on one, I see the list of all episodes, and some of them are like grayed out or they have a check mark or something that says, you've played this. That's all I want. Like this, if there was like an in-app purchase to spend $2 to make this segmented control disappear, I would pay for it. Like just because it visually bothers me. Just like, because everything is, for me, everything is current and all at the same time. Like this state, I don't need and I don't understand. So, yeah. But otherwise, I'm really liking this update. And like, this is a very small thing. Like the audio quality is top notch. Search is incredible. I like the new design. And I hope Marco has a new foundation to iterate on this app now.
Yep.
My only really kind of big thing UI wise is I don't understand why different components of what should be kind of the same thing look radically different. So the screen to manage or skip around chapters is a separate screen from the show notes, which is a separate screen from the EQ and audio, settings, including the sleep timer. And I think show notes and chapters could be one thing, but they all interact in different ways. Like the EQ and the sound effects is a panel that slides up from the bottom. The other two are full screen, but operate in different ways. And I don't understand why they're not all similar. And I would like to see that sort of stuff tidied up. And that's feedback that I shared in the beta and again in my blog post. So we'll see if that happens. But overall, I agree with you all. Like it's an app that a lot of people, including the three of us, love and have used for a long time. And if this means that he can move it forward in ways that are meaningful again, then I'm super excited for him. And our complaints are I think minor if he can move the ball forward in these new ways. And I seem to think that he can.
Yeah, I think that we're very consistent on that. Of like, there are changes, and changes to an app that you use this much, you kind of question them, but none of that will matter if the app gets the improvement that we want it to get.
Yeah,
which is just like consistent features and love and care and moving it forward. So, yeah, I'm excited for it. It's doing me great. I've been using it for, I don't know, like few weeks, a month or something, right, through the beta process, and it got better during that. And I know that Marco's focused on it, and I know that he pays attention to what people have to say, and so I expect that it's only going to get better and only going to get better quicker too. So
yeah,
he did. And I would just say, like, listening to him and understanding what he's been through to get this done, he has done something quite Herculean. It's basically started again. Like, it's a new app. Like, he may as well have given it another name and like released another app. Like, that's essentially what he has done here. Like, this is not the typical like redesign. Like, this is just like he went start new project basically, and like let's go over again.
Maybe should have called it Overcast and New You. Like you remember those names?
Noia.
for like 15 years ago. Overcast Noia.
Overcast Noia. And so, yeah, I think it is quite an incredible thing, and we only give it criticism because we love it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just wanted to say that to end.
Well, I think that does it for this week. If you want to find links to the stories we spoke about, head on over to the website, relay.fm/connected/511. Those links are also in your podcast player of choice. There's also a link to become a member at Get Connected Pro, which is the longer ad-free version of the show that we do each and every week.
Except next week.
Except next week when we're off.
Except next week. I feel like underscore, like when they did the longer episode of Under the Radar, and now he's like usually not longer than 30 minutes. But like, so for the last 2 weeks, I've been really restricting myself from saying every week.
That's fine, Mike.
So and then we'll get like 2 weeks out, and I'll be okay again.
It's fine.
You know,
everybody will be fine. if you want to find us on, I didn't finish my sentence. You can also submit feedback or follow up. There's a link in the show notes for that too. You can find us all online. Federico is the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net and can be found on Mastodon and Threads as Vitici. Mike can be found on those social networks as iMyke, IMYKE. He's the host of a bunch of other shows here across Relay and is the host of the Relay 10 show, which is very exciting. You're only going to get that once. I'm not going to.
I know.
You know.
I only want it once. I don't need it any other time. Like, I want it to be you, but I think here's the rule. If you arranged it, you can host it.
You can host it. There you go.
And that will typically mean that you will be back to being host again.
Yeah. Yeah. You are resigning as SVP of European events after this.
Immediately.
Tender my resignation.
Immediately.
Time for an election. That's what y'all do in the UK, right?
Yeah.
You can find me on Mastodon and Threads as ISMH86. I write 512pixels.net and co-host Mac Power Users here on Relay each and every Sunday afternoon. I thank our sponsors this week, NetSuite, Squarespace, and 1Password Extended Access Management. And until 2 weeks from now, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.